Right then, a bit of a weird one for me to be reviewing. Right then, and this is what was in the box. It is Vevor's portable bandsaw. Now, as I said, when they first contacted me, my first thought was, why do Vevor want a wood turner to review a portable bandsaw? And before I even agreed to do the review, I had a bit of a look around, right? So first thing I did, of course, was go look at the description of the saw. And in the description of the saw on the site, they excuse me, they rated for wood as well. So that got me thinking. So I went onto YouTube and had a look at any review for this saw. And the one thing I found that was in common was every single one of them was somebody using it on metal. Nobody had actually reviewed this from the side of a woodworker. Right. So then, even then, I was still a bit, why did I want the woodworker to review this thing? And then I started thinking, as a wood turner, and like the obvious one that came into my head was pen making. So I decided to test it out on that. That and cutting round stock. All right, anyone who has been up the channel a while knows I have a big bandsaw there, right? Its maximum throat is 14 inches, right? So if I want to cut, say if I get an order for a 16 or an 18 inch lamp or something that's long and I'm making it a round stock, I can't cut it on that bandsaw. I have to cut it by hand. And this actually solves it. I'll show you how in a bit, right? Now, in full disclosure, Vevor sent me this bandsaw to review, right? They also offered me a thing called an affiliate link, where if somebody clicks one of the links on this video, I get paid, right? I, of course, refused that and said I don't want it, because I would prefer to be able to give an honest review. Whereas if I'm being paid for a review, I'd have to basically say something was great and there was no problems with it. Even if the company hadn't asked, you'd still feel obliged to do that if you were being paid for it. And as you know, from me doing reviews of stuff that I've asked, I have a few rules for doing it, and the company has to agree to before. It's like, if I find something I don't like, I will say it. If I find a problem, I'll say it. If I don't like it, I'll say it. And when I was emailing with a girl called Victoria, I told her my basic rules for doing a review. And she said, "Grant, fine, we want an honest review." Grant, send it on in that case. Right? So they sent me this, and right, all that happened about a week ago, and this arrived today, right? And so I unboxed it and put it together. Now, something that did happen during the putting together part, right, which is annoying, was this. Right then, I'm just setting this up, and something that is not super clear in the instructions is how to put the blade on. Right now, first thing I've done is there's a handle up here, and I've moved it so it points up. In the box, you also get this packet of Allen keys. Right, there's 3 different sizes, probably for different things on the machine. I just had to use one turn. There's a little, I don't know if you can see it. Right, see this here? No, you can't. There, I had to unscrew that to turn the handle up because it was in the way. Right. So now, as I said, the instructions on fitting this blade aren't really clear. Right, but I figured it out. Right, there is a safety screw just here that you have to take out. Right. And then there's a little tab here. Lift it and push the cover away from the saw. And it comes off. Right. And it's the same on the other side. A little safety screw. Grab the little tab and push it and it comes off. Right, so simple enough, but the instructions are not clear on that in the book. Now grab one of these blades. It has a little plastic cover over it. Right. Looks like about doesn't say what TPI it is. Right. So teeth running that way. Right. Here it goes in everywhere. Now it's a little fiddly. Okay, so we'll be warned on that one. Right, there is a little lever at the back, which is a blade tensioner. Right, I have it off at the moment. Now then, according to what I can see here, there are ball bearing runners in this here. Right, there's a couple of ball bearing runners. So I'm guessing that this blade has to go into them first. As I said, the actual instructions on fitting this blade are not the best. But I'm guessing that the blade has to go through the two of these first. Right, Vevor, that is something you could improve, is the fitting instructions for the blades. Right, Vevor, you definitely need to improve your fitting instructions, because this is a pain in the ass trying to figure this out. Right. And this is why I don't accept payment for doing reviews, because if I see something that's iffy, I will say it. A little bit fiddly, but it's doable. Right, okay. That just seems strange. Right, that looks like it's in to me. Anyway. Right, and that blade looks like it's in. Right, then I'll put this tension handle back on. Wherever it is, there it is. Right. Right, there's the tension handle back on. And that blade looks like it's fitted to me. With a bit of a torn. Right then, I think that's how you fit the blade. Right, let's put the covers back on. Right. So, it's just when I spotted that bit about the instructions not being very clear, I thought I'd better show that bit. But I think that's it. Right. Okay then. As I said, when I get it completely set up and have a mess around with it, I'll come back to you. Right, that's the only thing I found that was wrong. Vevor, you have to do something about those instructions. They are terrible, right? They're not clear at all, right? Otherwise, everything's pretty simple, right? Now, what we'll do is we'll read the blurb on this thing first, right? I have it here. Right, okay, it's the Vevor portable bandsaw, right? It's stated a 5-inch cutting capacity. There is a codicil to that, right? It's a variable speed 1100 watt 10 amp motor, right? It's cutting speed, and I'll show you what the difference is in a second, right, when I go through the parts of the saw, right? Its cutting speed is 137.8 to 472 feet a minute. The alloy base, which is this part, is removable. That's important, right? The clamp I am totally in love with. It is a brilliant piece of engineering, right? And I'll just show you this bit now because it's so good. Right, the clamp is here, right? Now, anybody who's used clamps before knows if you're using a clamp, you got to spin it out, right, and then spin it back in. And if you've clamped something big and you want to clamp something small, you got to spend ages spinning this back in. With this, you don't. There's this little thing here. Flick it up, and that clamp immediately slides to anywhere you want it to go, right? What they've done is, on this side of it, they've actually cut threads into it, and without those threads engaged, this thing doesn't lock. Brilliant idea. Flick it back over, right, and that locks. Now, you can actually push it in as much as you want, right? If it's out there, you can slide it in as much as you want with that thing down, but it won't come back. So you can just clamp from there. I think that is a brilliant, fantastic idea. I love this clamp. I wish every clamp I had did that. It's brilliant, right? Now, as I said, I just had to show you that clamp straight away. It's brilliant. Right, the cutting capacity on the bandsaw, and this is why I said that the base being removable is important, right? With the base off, which is easy to do, there's 3 bolts here that are held on with some of the Allen keys that they supply. You just unscrew them and this whole saw part comes off of the base, right? So with the base off, the cutting capacity on like square stock, right, is 4.7 inches by 4.7 inches. The cutting capacity on round stock is 5 inches. With the base on, like the way you see it here, which is the way I'll be leaving it, right? The cutting capacity for rectangular stock, 3.9 inches by 3.2 inches. And the cutting capacity for round stock, which is what I'll be using it for mostly, is 3.93 inches. The whole unit weighs 28.66 pounds or 13 kilos. The blade replacement, right. Vevor don't do these blades, and there's a reason for it. And after thinking about it, I actually agree with them, right? The blade on it is 44.78 inches long, ½ inch wide, 0.025 inches thick, right? Or 1140 mil length, 13 mil wide, and 0.65 mil thick. It's a standard size. They're available everywhere. Now, the reason I said that I agree with Vevor not doing these blades is because by the time you buy it and pay postage and packing to wherever you're getting it to, it will be cheaper for you to just run down to the local hardware shop or the local tool shop and pick one up. It doesn't make any sense for them to sell the blades when they're available locally, right? Now, it's made in China, which an awful lot of things are now. You'll find 99% of tools are made in China, even if it's stated that they're made somewhere else, right? There's a whole complicated thing on what made in means, right? Now, it used to be that made in China was a bad thing. It was cheap and it was nasty. But now their production quality has gone way up. Like this seems to be a very good quality tool, right? I've dealt with Vevor before. As you know, if you've seen the pressure pot video or the vacuum chamber video, which I bought the two of those, right? They were very good. I had a slight problem with the vacuum chamber, but Vevor's after sales service were like that, and they sorted it out for me straight away, no problems. I found that very good, which is actually, I quite like this company, and that's why I like them, because their after sales service is so snappy. Right, now we go through the parts of this thing, right? Okay, there is a LED light on it there, right? It's up here, and it shines directly down onto the blade, so you can see exactly what you're cutting. I think it's better than a laser, because you can actually, it doesn't matter if down here is in shade, you can still see. And what I've found on an awful lot of the lasers is they're not exactly super accurate. I always cut a blade to a mark. I never use lasers. Right, on the back here, right, spin it round. Right, there is a dial here, which is the speed control, which is why there is such a vast difference in the possible blade speeds on this, because you have a speed controller there. And something that is handy with the speed controller is, right, that it works when the saw is running. Right. You'll find with some tools with a speed controller, you have to stop it and set the speeds. Right. With this one, you don't. I don't know if it's a European thing or not. That an awful lot of things, like American tools, mightn't do it. But I know over here I've had a few tools where you can't adjust the speed while you're using the tool, especially drills. I find that one. Right. As I said, it seems to be a very good solid tool. One of the things I like about it is its footprint is tiny, right? So if you're in a small workshop, right? Yeah, anybody who's been on the channel knows this isn't a big workshop, right? But if you're, say, in a small 6x4 shed or a 6x8 shed or something like that, and you don't have a powered saw, this thing is tiny. The footprint on it is really small. Very handy for that. Now, we'll get on to what this thing can actually do. Now, as I said, I've been playing with this for a couple of hours, right? Now then, what is catching me? Right, now, I've been cutting round stock with this, just to test it, right? And this is basically what's left. This thing started off about 4 feet long, and I've just been cutting it to test. Right, anybody who has used a big bandsaw for cutting round stock knows that one thing you shouldn't do is just push it in, because if this twists, it's not only dangerous, but it will also destroy your blade. All right, to cut round stock properly on a bandsaw, you need a sliding like base. I can't remember what the word is gone for, what the thing actually is. But it sits on the bed of your bandsaw, and it'll slide in and out, and you're supposed to clamp round stock to that, and then cut it through the bandsaw, right? With this, it's so much easier, right? Use that beautiful little clamp, right? Put the round stock in, close the clamp, right? Lock it down, and you're straight away ready to cut. And how it cuts is really clean. It's really, really clean. Right. A perfectly clean, flat, square cut. Right, and that's an absolutely gorgeous cut. And compared to what I normally have to do to cut round stock on the bandsaw, that was so much quicker. Right. Now, pen lengths. Right. I've tried a few pen blanks on it, and I've mucked about with, I've compared it. I've done direct comparisons to cutting on this and cutting on the bandsaw. Right. Anybody, I normally cut my pen blanks on the bandsaw. Right. And what I have to do is I have to grab the guide, right, put it in and hold the blank like that and run it through the bandsaw. Now, it cuts fine, right? But sometimes you will get a little bit of blade drift on the big bandsaw, and the cut here won't be exactly square, right? And pen makers will tell you that a square cut is one of the most important things, because when you're drilling it, if you have a flat square cut, it stops the drill bit wandering around the place. All right, so as I said, I've tried this a couple of times and I have been pleasantly surprised. Right, this is just a cherry pen blank. Right, so we'll cut this. Right, so the quick clamp again made it very easy, and there I have a perfectly flat, square, smooth cut. That's going to be so easy to drill because it's flat. It's not going to cause the drill bit to wander at all. That's going to be very good. That's going to be very handy. And another thing for pen makers is these tubes. Any pen maker will tell you that cutting these tubes is a pain in the butt, right? There's loads of ways of doing it. I've seen guys cutting them with Dremels. I've tried it with hacksaws, but I've found that unless the blade is perfectly sharp, you're going to warp this. Right, the way I do it now is I have an old mandrel. I put it on the lathe and I actually use an old gouge and cut it with the old gouge. Right, that keeps them straight, but it does cause a lip. Right, but this thing, again, slide that in, clamp it, right, and we'll cut this. Right. And what I have is a perfectly round, not sharp, right, tube that has been cut and is extremely clean, right, which is the main thing. It hasn't warped its shape at all. And as I said, a pen maker will tell you that. If I was a turner who just made pens, I would jump on one of these because it makes life so easy. All your cuts on your pen blanks are poker straight. The cuts on the tubes are fantastic, right? The one thing I haven't tried actually, and I'll try it now, is, as you know, when I make pens, I make a lot of antler. So my antler is over that side of the workshop, so I'm just going to have to unplug the mic here for a second till I go over. Right, plug the mic back in. Right, I said I haven't tried this on antler, actually. Right, so we'll just cut this useless kind of tip off. Won't be any good for a pen. Right. Drop that down. Lock the antler in. Right, now let's see how this works. It's something I never thought of actually until I was just talking there. Let's have a look at that. Oh man, that is really clean actually. I said normally I'd cut this on the big bandsaw, but that is really, really clean. I'm impressed with that actually, how clean it cuts that antler. Yeah, so I like that. Now, as I said, anyone who's been on the channel a while knows that if I'm doing a tool review, I have those rules. They agree to it. I've used Vevor before when I've bought stuff, and I find, and their after sale service is smack on. Have to say that, absolutely smack on. They've given me a 5% discount code, which I'll put down there. Right, it'll also be in the description. I'll pin it to a comment on the top in case anybody's looking for it. There are 2 links down below. Right, They're not affiliate links because, as I told you, I refuse those because I don't want to be obliged to say nice stuff and only nice stuff when it's not true, right? So, as you know, I don't accept payment for doing reviews because I prefer to be truthful. But what they are is they're tracking links, but not tracking you. Don't worry, they track clicks from this video. It's just to show Vevor, like, has anybody come from the video to have a look at the Bandsaw, right? There's one for the US and there's one for Europe, right? Right. Would I buy this Bandsaw if I was a pen maker? In a heartbeat. It makes it so easy to do. It makes it so easy to work. If I had the spare cash lying around now, would I buy it? Yes, because, like, if you've watched the channel, you know I make loads of different stuff, and I'm definitely going to use this for pens from now on. All right. The lamps that I do, they're various different lengths, depends on who wants what. It's like I did an order there a few months ago for a floor standing lamp, and I had to cut the blank by hand because it wouldn't fit in the bandsaw. It would have fit in this, which would have made, of course, my life a lot easier. And anything that's like that, I said, this thing can cut metal easily, right? We would use it for, like, I have stuff up there that I want to make, like a long, deep hollow one and stuff out of. I'm not going to cut metal on this video. There's enough videos out there of this saw cutting metal, and it just eats it, right? This was from a woodworker's or a wood turner's point of view of this saw. It's a great little tool. I'd have to be honest with you, it's a great little tool. Price wise, it's pretty good for a comparable saw. I've no bothers about dealing with Vevor. Their after sales, as I said, is fantastic. And that's about all I have to say about it. It's a good little saw, especially if I said, as I said, you're specifically a pen turner, which I know a lot of you are. Great little tool for a pen turner. If you've got a very small workspace, the footprint is tiny, right? It's a good joke, and I think it's pretty good value. So if you enjoyed that, I got out of it. If you wouldn't mind clicking a like on the video, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next one.